Thank you all for being here. Happy International Women's Day. So appreciate you showing up for yourselves and for each other. I know it's super important right now to have community, and your presence here is so valued and important because when we do these events geared towards women and people of color and gender expansive people, it is not to exclude because all are welcome. It is to celebrate and recognize their contributions and understand that as artists, they face additional challenges and barriers by virtue of their identities in society. So if you're here, you understood the assignment, and I'm proud and I'm thankful. So before I hand it over to Shanice, my colleague, I do want to take a second to thank everyone that made this possible. So please, Shanice is already up here. Daniela, Stephanie, Ari, Jess, Riva, Bianca, Georgie, who else am I missing? Anyone on the main team? Could you please stand up for me? Everyone that I called out, Sarah as well. Guys, they've been putting in the work. They're entirely volunteers as well. So make sure you talk to them, you thank them, you come celebrate with us at the after party because they put their heart and soul into this. And finally, before I hand it over, I do want to thank all the organizations that partnered with us. Collective Bay, Only Femmes, Liminal, her name is Shakti, Connect Tribe, Femme House, Rock Cuts, Sound Collective, and the brands and sponsors that provided raffle items and donations. Pioneer, we have some awesome raffle items for you guys. Topo Chico, Gold Peak Tea, Guayaki Yerba Mate, and 7th Street Burger. So thank you to all of them. And as I finish, I just want to ask you to gift us some grace today. It is a free event. It's the first time we've ever done this. So please do what you can to contribute with an open heart and an open mind. And I now hand it over to my colleague Shanice, our New York lead, DJ and producer, and the founder of You Are Important.
Fátima said almost everything I wanted to say, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been working with Sisters in Sound throwing events for the past year or so, and I'm so grateful to see so many familiar and new faces. I hope that you take something very important from today. You meet a new friend, a new collaborator. A lot of the people in this room I have met through Sisters in Sound, and I'm so grateful that you're all here. I will hand it over to our Yasemin from Beatport to say a quick word. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. I'm Yasmin. I work for Beatport. I work in the live events department, but I'm here kind of repping our community team today. So last year, Beatport decided to do a lot more community events. The first thing we did in New York was an International Women's Day event last year. And Fátima was actually one of our panelists, which is when we first started the relationship, I guess. A couple months later, we hosted a larger event for the community. Fátima DJ'd there and actually invited a lot of other organizations to be a part of the event. And some of the organizations are obviously here today, so thank you, everyone. So when last year, Fátima applied for the Beatport Diversity and Parity Fund, kind of pitching this event, we were, of course, really happy to give financial support. We're really thankful for Fátima and everyone involved. They've done an amazing job creating a space for all these incredible women here today and women-identifying individuals. I think next step, we'll invite Rimarkable on stage, our first moderator. She is from Detroit. She's a vocalist, performer, broadcaster, producer. I mean, she's obviously a legend, incredible knowledge in dance music. She's an adjunct professor at NYU Tisch. What else? She's recently working with Defected as a broadcaster, I think, but really, and an artist, yeah. Really happy to hand it off to Rimarkable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm actually gonna come behind the decks. That's where I feel comfortable. Is that okay with you all? This is such a beautiful experience. I didn't know what I was walking into. I'm so grateful that I'm walking into seeing all of your wonderful faces, and I just was met with so much love and grace and joy and compassion. And these are topics or principles that I love to live by and I do my work by. So I'm just going to jump into it, but first I want to say, as a Black woman, as a DJ, as a producer and a musician, but also an educator and a proud daughter of Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, let's come together in a Detroit way and say, when I say what up though, you say what up though back, okay? What up though? Yes. Detroit is the birthplace of Motown, techno, and it is the soundtrack of resistance. And this topic is really special, is very personal to me. And if you're not aware of what the topic is right now, we are going to discuss using music as a means for social justice. And I think this kind of, y'all are giving a very earthy social justice activist vibe in here. So I know that you feel me, right? So this topic is in my blood. It's not just there, it's in my records and it's in my curriculum. But before I get to that, I want to ask all of you, have you ever been on a dance floor where the DJ was so good that you forgot where you were? Put your hands up if you feel me. Okay, I see everybody. We're in unison on that. How many of you have been on a dance floor, though, where the DJ was so bad you started checking your email and playing Candy Crush on the dance floor? See, right there is the power of music. It can elevate us or evacuate us. And today I'm going to talk about how it can actually liberate us. Everybody put your fist up for liberation. Let's not forget where we are and who we are, okay? Music has always been a weapon of choice, of truth, and our loudest protest. And has been our bullhorn when we had no voice, our sanctuary when we had no safe space. And as Nina Simone said, an artist's duty is to reflect the times in which we live. And trust me, if you've been a DJ since Bill Clinton was in office like I have, no, for real, facts. Like, I know y'all are like Googling, who's Bill Clinton? A lot of people in here. But you see the times change and you see how they stay the same. And one thing about that is that music is always the catalyst in uniting people. Coming up in Detroit, I learned that music wasn't just for entertainment. It's for survival. Motown wasn't just about love songs and shopping around. It was about giving Black America a sound that demanded respect. And techno wasn't just about beats. And if you're not aware, techno came from Detroit. Holler back if you feel me. It was a futuristic rebellion against economic oppression. And hip hop, that was CNN before smartphones, before Google, before cable. Hip hop was the voice that we needed to hear from the streets. But think about it. Every single major social movement in this country and in the world has had a soundtrack. In the 1960s, Sam Cooke sang "A change is gonna come" at a time when Black people were beaten for simply wanting to vote. And that song wasn't just music, it was prophecy. During the Civil Rights Movement, Mahalia Jackson sang at the March on Washington right before Dr. King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. And a lot of us may not know, but he started to hesitate. And she was the only one who shouted, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." And here we have a gospel singer who actually inspired the most famous speech in the world that we've ever heard. Now, fast forward to Ferguson, 2014, when people flooded the streets after Michael Brown was killed by police. What song became their anthem? It was Kendrick Lamar's "All Right." Because when he said, "We gonna be all right," it wasn't a lyric, it was a lifeline. And let's be clear, y'all. Oppression and resistance is not just an American thing. Fancy that, right? We're taught just thinking we're insular. But there's a whole world out there that is also oppressed. And look at what's happening in Iran right now with young women fighting for their freedom. The song Baraye, am I saying it correctly, anybody? Baraye, thank you, by Shirvan Hajipour. It became a viral protest anthem so powerful that the Iranian government arrested him for making it. That's how you know music is a threat to oppression. When dictators fear your song more than your fists and more than your guns, you know you're onto something. In 2019, Chilean activist group Las Tesas created Un Violador en tu Camino, a protest chant against sexual violence, and it spread worldwide because violence against women is a global issue. It's not just in your neighborhood, it's global. It's happening to you, it's happening to someone else. And in Mexico, the song Canción Sin Miedo by Bebé Quintana became the anthem of the fight against femicide. And in South Korea, and I was surprised to learn this, but K-pop idols, because you don't think about protesting when you think about K-pop. I actually don't know what you think about when you think about K-pop. I know what I think about. But but idols like Ciel and Hawassa have openly challenged conservative beauty standards and gender roles. And in India, rap has become a feminist weapon with artists like DMC and Sophia Ashraf, spinning bars about sexism, environmental justice, and political corruption. And from Miriam Makeba, Brendan Fossey, Angelique Kidjo, to Alsarah, to Yaki Libianca, and Hemi Alade, all have repped the continent of Africa like the royal resistance snipers that they are. Women have always been on the front lines of protest. We just happen to sing about it while we fight. We always gonna do two things at once, women. Oh, sorry. That's just how we roll. This is why music is so dangerous to those in power. You can silence a person, but you cannot unsing a song. Now, as a DJ, I see firsthand how music can shift the energy in a room in society. One night, I was in Brooklyn DJing, and the crowd was mixed. I'm talking black, white, Latino, everybody just a freaking, it was just crazy. All walks of life were in the room, and I started with some standard club bangers like all DJs do. Got everybody moving, but then I decided to flip the vibe, and I mixed in some Gil Scott-Heron. The revolution will be televised. And I mixed that into Public Enemy's Fight the Power, and suddenly the energy shifted. Folks started rapping along. People who wouldn't even make eye contact on the subway were getting along, and they felt connected to one another. And that's when it hit me as a DJ. I don't just control the music, I control the message. Music moves people in ways logic never will. But here's the thing. It's not just enough to listen to these songs. We have to act on them. We have to control the auxiliary chord, and we can control the narrative. Who are my aux DJs in here? Okay, I see you. Hey, love. Now let's talk about the power of producing your own events. I am personally a fan of that. I've never asked for people to give me gigs. I always made my own. I always knew that there was a place in my community where I could take up and show out, and I've done that, and I always encourage people to do that. When people ask me about how to get gigs, I say, start your own. That's the only way you're going to control the narrative. Because let's be real, if we're waiting for mainstream society to consistently give music space that speaks truth, we might as well be waiting on Tupac to drop a new album. That's not happening. That's why we create our own spaces. And some of the most powerful movements in music weren't born in boardrooms. They were born in basements, warehouses, backyards, and block parties. House music was a revolution because it gave black and brown and queer people, folks in Chicago and Detroit, a sanctuary where the world would not. And hip-hop was a revolution and still is, because Kool Herc didn't wait for a record deal. He threw a party in the Bronx. Those weren't just events, they were acts of resistance. And I tell my students all the time, if you curate a vibe, you can curate a movement. So if you can put together a playlist, you can put together something that's going to move people, that's going to move mountains, that's going to be the hope, the light in someone's lives. I can't tell you how many times throughout my almost 30-year career that I've had people come up to me when I thought I gave the worst set of my life. I thought I was just off. I had my own stuff going on. And somebody walked up to me and told me how I changed them or how I shifted something in their lives. or how I saved their life that night. That song, Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, that's a true story for so many of us. And it should be a true story for you if you have that motivation, if you have that intention behind your work. You have to have intention, because this music, being a DJ or being a musician, this music, you have to have a responsibility with it, because so many people are affected subconsciously, physically, spiritually, and you could be saving a life. And excuse me, I lost my place. I kind of was going off the dome there. I tell my students, you want to challenge police brutality, throw a fundraiser party and donate the proceeds. You want to celebrate women in hip hop, book an all women lineup and make it free to all women. You want to start a conversation about racial unity, host a night where every song played is by an, I'm giving away ideas. Are y'all writing this down? Host a night where every song is played by an artist who spoke truth to power. The possibilities are endless, but the impact is undeniable. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about playing music. It's about creating a moment. And if you do it right, that moment becomes a movement. So don't just wait to change. Don't just wait for change to DJ. Produce it. Make it happen, because the revolution does not just need a playlist. It needs a venue. Do it in your apartment, do it in your backyard, do it on your front walk. There's a whole movement going on right now where people are doing brownstone step parties, taking over their neighborhood. There was a party in Brooklyn that saved people's lives during COVID. St. James Place, they started a movement with what they had, and don't feel intimidated. You don't need to know people. Just make yourself known. The truth is, we all have a role in this movement. Whether you spin records, write rhymes, play instruments, or just curate your own playlists, know what you are amplifying. Are you feeding the revolution? Or are you feeding the algorithm? Because here's the thing, the struggle continues, but so does the soundtrack. People are still making music. They're making music as we speak. We're making music together when we clap our hands and we stomp our feet. We need the anthems. We need the DJs. We need the producers. Wait, not too much on the DJs, because no, but seriously, we need producers and we need the listeners, because listening is also an act of resistance. So support each other. Buy your friends' records. Buy your friends' shows. Go to their DJ everythings. I'm so tired of people like, girl, show me next time you're DJing, I'll be right there. No, we have to support each other, you guys. We have to. So I'll leave you with this. I'm wrapping up right now. The next time you hear a song that speaks truth, don't just nod your head. Share it. Teach it. Let it move you to action. Because the revolution may not be televised, but best believe it's going to have one dope-ass playlist. All right? Peace. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. This is fantastic. I hope to do more of these sort of things where I speak to large bodies of people. I find so much impact for myself even, and opportunities to share knowledge, to share wisdom, to pass on, just to have an exchange. It's much like DJing. And so I appreciate you all. And right now we're going to shift into a panel discussion where we speak a little bit more about using music as a means for social justice. And first, I'm going to invite up to the stage AIDA, who is a DJ. AIDA, I'm sorry, AIDA. AIDA, I said it properly. AIDA's a DJ, producer, and co-founder of Apronic Records based in San Francisco. Shout out to San Francisco. I used to live in the Bay. I know what's up. In the past few years, she has built a strong presence in the electronic music scene locally and abroad, frequently touring across Europe and playing in clubs and festivals such as Berghain, Panorama Bar, and if you're a real club head, you know that's a big deal. Day School, DC-10, and Horse Festival. Her record label, Aprnik Records, was co-founded in response to the woman life freedom movement in Iran as an act of resistance and support for the movement. Woo! Her label's focus thus far has been releasing music by Iranian women electronic musicians, providing a platform for artists whose voices are often marginalized, and will be expanding to release music from the greater Flinta community since then. Outside of music, AIDA works as a product designer in San Francisco. Wow, hands are full.
Very.
Balancing a demanding career in tech and their work in music. Make some noise! Please have a seat. Feel free. You can sit. Unless you prefer to stand.
I could.
Okay. Next up, I'm bringing Alsarah, who is a singer, superstar, songwriter, band leader, and somewhat reluctant ethnomusicologist. Oh, when we get these degrees, we just don't want to use them. Born in Khartoum, Sudan, she relocated to Yemen with her family before abruptly moving to the USA, finally feeling most at home in Brooklyn, New York, where she has been residing since 2004. She is a self-proclaimed practitioner of East African retro pop music, working on various projects. She has toured both nationally and internationally with her main outfit, Alsarah and the Nubatones. If you're not familiar, get familiar. She has released 2 full-length albums titled Silt, followed by Manara on Wonderwheel Recordings. She has also released 1 full-length album with French electronic producer Debru, correct?
Yep.
Titled Al Jawal. And she was featured on the Now Project's debut CD, Aswan. Always trying to connect the musical dots, both her full-length albums with the Nubatones saw themselves reimagined and remixed by various acclaimed electronic producers. In 2015, Silt Remix, and 2017's Manara Remix, and between both albums, Alsarah works with the Sudanese artist collective Refugee Club Productions on a variety of projects, including the critically acclaimed Beats of the Antonov. Make some noise for Alsarah. Thank you all so much for being here. Yes, thank God. Thought I lost these. We're gonna hop into it. We're about to get juicy. Throughout history, music has been a tool of resistance, from civil rights anthems to underground movements. As Black and brown women in the community, how do you intentionally use your music and platform to challenge injustice and inspire change?
I can go. I mean, I see music as any other form of art. It is a window that you create for someone who's in the audience to see something that is created by that artist. And when music is a form of resistance, the artist is creating that space or that story or that narrative for the viewer to experience that. In my world, any sort of music production that I have done has had this energy. My entire existence in music has always felt like I was going against the grain. And so the theme or the energy behind everything that I have ever produced has been intense and has tried to bring across that message of resistance and intensity, whether through the vocals, chanting that I may sample, the types of sounds that I choose. And ultimately, I think all of this manifested to the biggest thing, which was our record label, mentioned earlier, that was founded out of the need to have the voices of Iranian women heard in the music industry. When the Woman Life Freedom happened in 2022 from the killing of an innocent woman in Iran, the music industry was, it wasn't being talked about. unlike many other events. And so it was sort of a recognition that this is actually my opportunity. And so my co-founder Nessa Azadikha and I started a pranic out of that, and we started releasing music from Iranian women who had been, all over the world, in Iran, outside of Iran, pushed outside of Iran because they couldn't practice in Iran. And we curated our first album, which we actually called Women Life Freedom, and it came together so beautifully. And it was sort of this unspoken cohesion and this unspoken community that came together without even, we didn't even have to curate, we didn't have to even share a theme or anything. I mean, all of this is so woven into the fabric of the being of Iranian women, the resistance and the strength and the power, that the music that was submitted to us worked so well. It was so cohesive. It was so powerful. And we got the recognition. The music industry that the people we wanted really heard us. They covered it. It was covered quite significantly in the news, and that was an incredible outcome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Alsarah.
Well, music is inherently a social act. You can make music in your bedroom, but you're not making it in a vacuum. For me, because music fundamentally requires that you are silent enough to hear in order to make it. And that goes hand in hand with the making of music. And that's also a big part of any kind of social justice movement. Being silent enough that you can leave room for other people's stories. I grew up between Sudan and Yemen and the States, and I saw several regimes toppling over. And I know precisely the role of music in that, from the role of national anthems to the role of deliberate ostracization of certain musicians, of certain stories. I grew up watching actual songs be completely discarded from musical canons. And not just because they belong to women, but because they belong to ethnic groups that you no longer deem necessary to the creation of your cultural soundscape. So for me, I could never separate music from resistance. And I think it's prominent everywhere globally. You watch it's very easy to change history. It's actually really, really easy. And that's the most terrifying thing about us not being aware of the intentionality behind cultural making and cultural distribution, and who has the tools and the powers to say who's allowed to be distributed, who's allowed to be in the room, who's allowed to sing the songs. I grew up at a time where I was taught that women weren't allowed to be composers, and that it didn't even exist. And that wasn't just because I was in Sudan, in Africa. It was also a very common thing in the States. The idea that, and even though there's been never an ending of women writing music, or never an ending of any human beings writing music, actually, it's just who's allowed to be in the room. So I don't see music as separate from resistance. They cannot be separate. When you try to separate them is when you start kind of creating, I don't want to offend anyone, you create junk. Because it's like, then you're just making clutter. Without intentionality, there is no art, there's just clutter. So.
That's so real. There's a lot of junk, a lot of clutter. I like that better. There's a lot of clutter going on in the world.
Yeah.
Now, being both women and people of color in the music industry, being both women, excuse me, sometimes you gotta switch it up. Being both women and people of color in the music industry, it presents unique challenges and opportunities, of course, right?
Yeah.
But have you ever faced resistance when infusing activism in your work? And as you said, they're not separate, but how do you navigate the tension between staying true to your message while also sustaining your career? There's a lot of challenges. You see a lot of people selling out.
I mean, I think you said it best when you said make the gigs.
Yeah.
I've also, since when I started, nobody wanted to hear from a Sudanese singer who's singing in other languages about things they don't know anything about.
Right.
And so I just book the gigs myself. Just do if they won't give you the room, build another room. And honestly, like some people don't want to do the labor of it, I think.
That's the part that separates us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think you should make your own opportunities, like you said. Making your own gigs is one way, but just pushing, literally just pushing, is another way. I think for every artist, their journey is an unknown. You're driving a car in the dark where your headlights only see just a few feet in front of you. And I also think that all artists are very sensitive, very self-aware people, which makes it very hard to stop questioning yourself and to let the voices that doubt you from within yourself or from the outside in. And that it's really important that all of that is resistance. It's really important to be aware of that and to continue pushing. And you don't always know where you're going or what the point of it is or whether it's good or bad or whatever, but you just feel right. Um, and I think that voice inside is an intuition that should always be listened to, should always be acknowledged, and it should be heard. I liked what you said about silence, creating space and silence for your own energy to manifest itself in meditation, actual meditation or not. And just doing that is resistance, because your mind can push that on you and can slow you down or stop you.
Awesome. I love that you both spoke about or touched on about the business aspect or taking control, which is inevitably business, right? Music as activism doesn't just happen in lyrics or DJ sets. It happens in who and how you book yourself or how you get paid and who controls the narrative. How do you ensure that your activism extends beyond performance and into the business side of music?
Professionalism.
Ooh, yes.
I think
That's
being absolutely professional. It's not something that I consistently see in the music industry, but when I do see it, it goes such a long way, whether
really
it's
does.
from me or from whoever I may be working with in either direction. I think it's super important to be professional, to not get caught up in playing games, and to really demand what you need, whether that's a good fee or whatever else that may be fair also from you to ask. But on the business side, that's something that I bring from my day job, which is if you're not professional, you're out.
Yeah.
So bringing that for me into music in any form of communication, it has been key.
Absolutely. It took me a while to really get down the demanding what I need part down, because you're at the will of your client, right? So that sometimes can make one submissive or feel like they have to be submissive, and there's so much power behind demanding what you need, and it shows up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think for me, it's, I mean, I 100% agree with you, the professionalism and how far along it can take you. And again, understanding your value, your worth, but also understanding the dynamic of the people you're working with. There is a lot of really who you say yes to taking money from makes a big difference. Like at the end of the day, to me, it's all about economic power. Who are you willing to take money from, and what are you willing to do for that money? That's what makes the difference.
That's a word. That is a that is a word right there. It's a word. I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna take it to the audience for questions. Looking ahead, how do you see the role of musicians and DJs evolving in social justice movements? What advice would you give young artists who want to use their craft to make meaningful change and don't know where to start?
I think choose your friends carefully. Volunteer your time to be in the room around the right people and give them what you have to offer. At the end of the day, like, you know, you just, if what you're bringing to the table is a dope soundtrack, hang out with the right people that could use a little bit of joy, you know, the people that are doing other work, because it's, we all have different roles in the movement and in the resistance, right? So you're not going to be, not everyone's meant to be out there lobbying at Washington D.C., and not everyone's meant to be out there on the streets, but we all do what we can to complete the picture. So make better friends. Some of y'all are hanging with some questionable people.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Collaborate. I think collaboration is key. Finding like-minded individuals and working with them is key. What I said earlier, which is listen to the voice inside you and follow that, despite whoever is telling you, from family to friends to your colleagues to any form of rejection, which is constant, by the way. All of us are getting rejected constantly when you're putting yourself out there. Just keep pushing and listen to the voice inside you that gives you purpose, because if you don't do it, then you're otherwise sort of missing a limb. It's like a part of you, this music, right? That's why we all do it. I would say, if you can't find a role model, which I couldn't as an Iranian woman coming from a culture where traditionally being a woman in the club environment is not something that is applauded. You should become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever.
Right.
So being in the club environment wasn't something that was supported for me. And so I had to really prove that this was going somewhere. That was a fight. And so it is a fight. And so just continuing to push and be that example and show. And I think when you try to be your own role model, you end up being other people's role model.
Yeah.
And yeah, and to
That's a word.
and
Amazing.
to continue that, to push for that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fantastic. Thank you for those beautiful answers. Let's give them a wonderful round of applause. My heart is warm. I feel blessed by it. Now I'm stepping out on my Oprah Winfrey right now to take some questions from you all. For any of us on the panel, I'll come over to you with the mic. So, okay, fantastic.
Hi. Thank you both so much for your wonderful and thoughtful answers. I'm Sage, and I just moved here from San Francisco to New York. And yeah, it's been such a wonderful environment to connect here with all these creatives. And I just want to talk a little bit about the last point that you made, Aida, that really resonated with me. Being a South Asian woman, it's really not accepted, you know, to be in the club environment, to be doing this line of work. That's why I studied engineering, and I was an engineer. That's my day job.
I feel you.
So yeah, I also work in tech. And then doing all of this other stuff that is my passion, right? Like the revolution and changing the dynamics, creating a space for people like us. I feel like what I wanted to ask you is, how did you navigate that with your family and like changing their mindsets? Because it is really hard pressure-wise, because all of you here understand, we're all with it. But how do you change the old mindset, like the family mindset? Because I don't want to hide what I do.
Yeah. Fantastic question. Question I dealt with for a long time. When I first started DJing, my family, I remember there was this time we were all hanging out, and my parents were like, "What is she doing? Why? It's a phase, but it's going on too long." And my brother was there, and he said, "It's not gonna go anywhere. Like, don't worry about it. It'll be fun." And I remember like thinking like, hell, it's gonna go somewhere. You just see, wait and see. But like that aside, the way that I navigated this is that I realized what does my family actually want from me? They just want for me to be safe, secure, and be able to support myself. And so what I did was, which is something you mentioned earlier, we always do two things at once. I did two things at once, and I tried to do both really well. So I calmed them by having a hardcore career in tech, and I did what I needed to do by doing music. And when music got more and more, when I became accomplished more and more, and they could see that, simultaneous to me doing the tech thing and like being successful there, they were like, okay, well, she's fine there, and it's cool. She's kind of getting somewhere with the other thing. Yeah. So so that's how I did it. Not by pushing back, but by understanding where they're coming from, which is good intentions, and showing them you don't have to be worried. I got this, but also watch me. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Hi, I'm Shama. I'm from DC.
DC.
Yeah.
Hi.
Honestly, I'm just kind of curious. So, like, I know who my inspiration to like really start to get behind the decks, like the thing that really put it there for me. And I guess I'm just curious, was there like a specific producer, an artist, a singer, a DJ that really catalyzed you and inspired you to really pick up, you know, and get behind the decks or start producing, start songwriting, get in the studio?
For me, I started making music when I was a teenager, and I didn't even have the courage to tell myself I wanted to be a full-time musician until I graduated from college. But the person who really pushed me forward was the Sudanese singer named Russia. She's a singer and songwriter based out of Spain, and it was the first time I had seen a album with the credits, songs written by, and a Sudanese woman's name next to it. And it all of a sudden just made me realize it's possible. Even if it's unlikely, it's possible. And before that, it hadn't even entered my mind in the realm of possibility. And my parents also did not want me to be a musician at all. They were just like, what? They're like, we are refugees in America. What are you doing? Like, you need a job. No one is rich enough to support this mayhem. So it was that also, though, like, well, watch me do it. Except unlike you, I didn't have a real job. So and my parents, for a while, they were like, we think she's just selling her organs in New York. We don't know. No, they really didn't. They were like, we have no idea how the rent is paid. I was like, it's going to happen. Just wait. And then eventually, you know, I put down a check on the table. And I was like, here you go.
Nice.
I made money.
Nice. Can you tell me the name of that artist again so I can write it down? I'm going to look her up.
Her name is Rasha, Rasha.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
For me, I just want to jump in and say, my family was not for it either. And I remember telling my mom that I wanted to be a DJ, and she was like, well, make sure that DJ doesn't mean this Jesus. And so, so, you know, and to this day, you know, it's been almost 30 years in, and she still wonders and worries and doesn't quite accept it, you know. I think when I started teaching at NYU, she thought I got a real job, you know.
Yeah.
But who inspired me? I mean, growing up in a culture, I grew up when house and hip hop were coming up. When they were growing up, I was growing up as well. So it kind of was just something that was embedded in me. So it's part of my culture. And in terms of being a DJ, I didn't have one specific DJ that made me want to be a DJ. I wasn't even thinking about it. I mean, I was making what old school DJs call pause tapes from the radio, where we listen to the radio and pause to beat the commercial, and you record when your favorite song, you wait and then you record when your favorite song comes up. And I had my collection of tapes, and I got known for my tapes. I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't know. And then my sophomore year of college, I needed a job because I didn't want to go home. And I had to get my own apartment, and you had to pay for it. And I was just looking through the one ads in the back of my college paper, And there was a company that was hiring DJs, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I like music, it's fine. And I just lied through the interview. And it was run by women. I'll never forget this. This company was run by women. Women taught me how to be a DJ. They taught me everything. And I learned how to put together, I learned how to set up and break down equipment. I was lifting 50-pound subwoofers on my shoulder, breaking down 3 o'clock in the morning. I was learning everything and business acumen and all that sort of thing, all that sort of stuff that would take me to where I am today. I don't play around with my business, and I don't play around with my work. And so I'm usually at these gigs telling the sound guys how to run stuff sometimes, you know? So it's a trip. Did you want to sound? Yeah. Did you want to say anything about it?
Yeah. Who inspired me? You know, I'm not proud to say it was Tiesto. I mean, no, I'm kidding. He's done a lot for music, I think, before he sold it. But
Right. That part.
I listened to trance for the first time when I was 14 and became obsessed. I mean, I think as teenagers you fall in love with your classmates. I sort of fell in love with Tiesto. um, and then started listening to more trance and just found more and more and more. And the music that was moving me they were all DJs who were making them and putting them out. And so I started collecting music without knowing what I'm doing and playlisting them by mood without knowing what I'm doing. It's just like for me. And then saving up in my allowance and going to Long and McQuaid, which is a music rental shop in Vancouver where I grew up, and renting decks with my mom waiting outside, being like, again, like, what is she, this is a phase. And then bringing that home and like learning how to DJ from YouTube, and then at my friends' house parties with like people my age, 16, 15. So that's who inspired me, and it really stuck with me because it was a feeling that I couldn't get out, and it was an obsession that I couldn't get out. Like, I had to listen to music all the time, constantly, before bed, in the moment I woke
That's
up.
when you know.
Yeah, and it was just this weird obsession. I still can't explain where it comes from and why. But yeah, thanks to Tiesto, I found it.
Yeah. No, all of our favorite big time DJs were once really cool. And we have time for one more question. Please ask. Use this opportunity to your advantage. Yes. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Katie. I'm from Philly. We've been like throwing some events recently under the umbrella of like Hold On to Your Friends. That's like our festival totem, and it's like good for the community. And long term, we were thinking about potentially maybe starting a label or trying to just, create a space and a community that like people want to spend time with and have a revolution. And so I was just curious to know if you had any pointers on what you did to start your label and how to grow it and to find the right kinds of people that you want under that label. Do you have any pointers about that?
Yeah. I think what really was impactful for us was having a mission. Why were we doing this? Not just because we felt like we needed to put music out because everyone else is doing it, but we really had a mission, and that mission helped unite us and bring artists and people who resonated with that to us. And so that really helped build an audience. And continuing on with that mission and the message and the reason why it exists helped it grow, and it's still growing. And so I would say that for your city, for the space that you're in, what differentiates you, what makes yours unique, what is really authentic to your core and the message behind the record label, having that in your brand, in your messaging, in your tone of voice, your imagery, all of that, making sure that it's represented in a cohesive, consistent way. Because it's the personality of your brand. Like any person has an identity and a personality, and they're authentically staying true to that. Your record label would be the same. Yeah, so I would say that is one side of it, and then ultimately, like the artists that you bring on, the music that you curate, staying again true to that message, that will just continue to build it from there. And then ultimately just make to-do lists. There's so much administrative work that goes into labels, like finding the right distributors, your scheduling, finding mixing, mastering engineers, people who will do your artwork for you. There's just so many things you have to do. And the timeline is also really important. So if you have a release date in mind, thinking about how much time do you need for PR before that, so that the right people will be able to put out the right PR for you in the right time, how long it takes for distribution, when you have to put your release out into distribution, which is a few weeks before. Having enough time for mixing, mastering, a few iterations of that to come back until it's perfect. Same thing with your artwork. So our artists who have done all of our covers have been amazing. And I think what really worked in communicating with them was a collaboration in sharing the concept with them and some sort of idea, and then getting a few iterations, giving feedback, and finally tuning it down. So I would say all of that. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for having us, everyone. Once again, thank you to our panelists. And thank you to me. Oh, no, just kidding. No.
Yeah.
No, thank you to you. Thank you to you. I really appreciate you. Thank you to Sisters in Sound